on to AFR. How are you, man?
Matt, what's up, my man? How you doing, brother?
Doing awesome. All right, we're going to talk some hoops. First, though, the Hyundai commercial, the smart pahk. Give me your thoughts. Let me hear it. Give me your thoughts.
Well, here's the thing. As you know, and especially growing up in Boston, I take great pride in my parallel parking skills. And to think that some car is going to come down the pike and park my car. No. I'm the only one that parks. I mean, how many times have you made that perfect parallel park, 3-point turn? You start bragging to your wife, you get out of the car, and you expect there to be like people just chanting your name. So
you're high-fiving yourself.
Yes. You know what's interesting too is John Krasinski, who you know from The Office and a couple other movies, is in that commercial. I was roommates with his brother. His brother was a pretty good basketball player back in the day.
No way. Where were you roommates?
we played on Greater Boston AAU basketball team in high school.
That's so good.
So his brother went on to play for Brown. Had a pretty good career at Brown.
It's so good. Hey, did you know who the other guy in the commercial was?
Well, Chris Evans is a younger guy. He came to fame. Actually, he was in a movie. This goes back like 10 years, 15 years even. It was called Not Another Teen Movie.
Hell yeah, it was.
A spoof on, all those other.
American Pie and yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I was playing in France at the time, and it was one of the few DVDs that you could get in English. And, I mean, I must have watched that movie probably twice a day for months just to hear the English language. But then, of course, Chris Evans, and what is he, he's a superhero now, isn't he? Something like that?
So, Pat, I didn't know that, right? So I said, as we started the show, and I was like, I don't know, it's Chris, because I was reading the sheet, it was Chris Evans, and I was like, who is that? I don't know who that is. And my Twitter mentions, I just got crushed. He's Captain America, and I had no idea.
There you go.
So
Captain. Well, me and you are probably the same. We all these Marvel comics, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
Too many of them. Everybody wants to be a superhero these days. You know what I'm saying?
Someone told me that he was also the Human Torch. Like, you can't be two superheroes. Now you're confusing everybody.
That's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. I mean, leave something for the rest of us to do, Chris Evans. I mean,
right.
What do you want to be? Everyone's superhero?
That's what I'm talking about.
Now he's got a car that parks itself. Come on.
Krasinski had the car that parks itself, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Krasinski, that's right.
And then Big Poppy's hanging out of a window up there. Who wasn't in that ad that should have been in that ad?
Well, listen, I'm obviously I'm a big Good Will Hunting fan.
Yeah.
I'm just glad they finally put other Bostonians on TV other than Ben Affleck. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Rachel Dratch was great too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Ben, but I think he's too Hollywood for us now. You know what I mean?
Pat, I thought like, how did Ben Affleck, Matt Damon not end up in there? And then Musso, our producer, said it, and then the Wahlbergs. I mean, it felt like there were a lot of very obvious options there.
Yeah, Marky Mark.
Yeah. How can Marky Mark not park the car? Was my accent bad or was it good? Did I do okay?
No, that was good. I tell everyone, replace the R with an AH.
Yeah.
That's it. It's easy.
I love it.
Throw a wicked in there every once in a while.
Wicked, yeah. It's wicked hard to park the car. Pat, you and I really are like the same person. I mean, it kind of, and of all the way down to like the scholarship athlete draining threes and stuff like that. I mean, we're basically the same guy. So,
well, there is very few places that remind me of Boston as much as Baton Rouge, New Orleans. Believe it or not, it has a lot of character where you guys are in my hometown, so that's why I've always felt a connection.
Interesting.
To Louisiana.
That's interesting. Pat Bradley's our guest, former Arkansas Razorback, does awesome work with the SEC Network. I know I got you here to talk basketball, but how could we pass on that opportunity, right? We just
Exactly.
we had to go there. Okay, LSU's 8-0. I got asked this question earlier today. I want your take on it. Someone asked me, all right, is LSU really that good, or is the SEC just really bad?
Yeah, it's the tendency is for people to bash the SEC. I happen to think the SEC, top to bottom, I realize Vandy, they would be a lot better, but they got an injury to their best player. He's out. But I think the knock on the SEC is just because there's not that one team that you see, okay, this is a Final Four team, which I happen to believe we've got a few teams that go to the Final Four, but it's college basketball this year. I mean, what do we have? 8 different number one teams. Anyone's guess is as good as the next one who can make. There's a number of teams that can make a run in the tournament. So I think from top to bottom, the SEC is the best league. And that's not just talking, put my SEC colored glasses on. But there's no way you can tell me the Big Ten because there's 12 teams. That's just absolutely ridiculous. I think we could get 7 teams in. I think just because there's not that one shining star team, and Auburn was a team that obviously got off to such a good start in the non-conference. Everybody kind of put them in the top 5. But Will Wade and LSU, I'm sure Will Wade loves where his team is because they've been flying under the radar. And then, you look up, they're 8-0. So they're going to start getting a lot more attention. But I do think that the SEC is a lot stronger than people give it credit for.
How much does not having a legitimate shooting threat hurt LSU as they move into the second half of conference play?
It hurts, but I'll say this, and I said it before. When you look at LSU, now the personnel, Javonte Smart, Skylar Mays, these guys attack the rim on the bounce. Emmett Williams is an aggressive guy going to the rim. But would anybody be surprised if LSU has a game where they make 15 threes? I mean, we've seen Javonte Smart not, right? I mean, Darius Day, Marlon Taylor, Javonte Smart, Skylar Mays, and these guys can shoot. Now, the strength of their team, obviously, is hitting the offensive glass and, those guards, man. I mean, Trenton Wofford, this dude, he can shoot the 3. I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised. That's something that they don't have to. That's the good thing. Like, LSU doesn't have to win games because they can get it off the glass. They can drive it down your throat, get to the free throw line. So sometimes teams, and this is something we see all the time, it frustrates me. Everybody wants to believe we're in such a new era. Everyone's shooting the 3. Well, you know what? I see a lot of guys settling for shooting the 3. And they can't shoot it, but they just settle because it's tough. You got to be a tough guy to get by your defender and finish in the lane. LSU's got tough guys. Let's just call it what it is, man. Yeah. They got one of the toughest, Emmett Williams, and Skylar Mays, and Javonte Smart. So I think, the 3-point error and all that jazz, I can point to most of those guys are just lazy and they don't want to try to get to the rim.
He's on Twitter at Pat Bradley22. Pat Bradley's with us, SEC Network basketball analyst. Couple of more. When you look at the rest of the league, if you had to take, what teams would you take right now over 8-0 LSU?
Well, obviously Kentucky, because they've got, when you're putting together a team, they've got all the pieces. And they've been, people would say their Achilles heel is shooting the 3 too, but I think they would not be surprised if they came out and knocked down 10, 12, 15 of them because they got guys who can shoot it. They just don't. So Kentucky for sure. Mississippi State, I'm telling you, they are a beast. They got Nick Witherspoon back, who is now settled down and is got this team. He's directing this team. Of course, Reggie Perry, SEC Player of the Year. But Mississippi State is so long. They're starting, so they go Abdul Adu 6'11", Reggie Perry 6'10", Robert Woodard 6'7", Tyson Carter, their shooting guard, 6'4", DJ Stewart 6'5", 6'6", is one of their wing players. Nick Weatherspoon's the smallest guy, he's 6'1", and he's the most explosive athlete from a guard position in the country. Even at backup point guard, Iverson Molinar is 6'4". Ben Holland has got unbelievable length. So if they're not shooting it well, we'll go off the glass and get something.
No.
They get in the passing lanes, create turnovers. So I think Mississippi State now is playing how we envisioned they could.
Pat, before I let you run, what do you think for LSU is their ceiling this year? And I'm not saying like, oh, the breaks go their way, they get a favorable matchup, they make a Final Four run. I mean, that you mentioned it. It's college basketball, of course it could happen. But when you look at this team, what do you think is realistic?
I think realistically, in their schedule, it's going to get challenged, right? LSU goes to Auburn, to Alabama, at Florida. South Carolina is tough. I'm telling you. Not a lot of people are talking about South Carolina. They're going to be in the next few weeks. Still got to go to Arkansas. So I think they've taken advantage. They've done what they absolutely had to do early on in the conference, setting themselves up for a tough next couple of weeks. So their sights should be on winning the league. But continuing to get better. And I think, Will Wade talked about how they've won games, close games. They've given up leads, but have come back and were able to win games at the end, which is great. But when you talk about how far can this team go, I think you got to look at, do they have the ability when they get a lead, can we grow that lead? Can we get multiple stops, even when we're up by 6 points? Can we get multiple stops now to get that to 10? Because we know they've got playmakers, right? So if they're down a few buckets, they get enough playmakers to come back, get in games. So it's and you can't criticize them because they've won these close games.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lull during games where they go on droughts. Is that lack of focus? Is that, not sticking to the game plan? Or is it lack of sense of urgency? So that's what you want to see. You want to see, are we just going to be satisfied with having a couple buckets? Now, I loved it. Will Wade chewed all them out, and then they came with they smoked, what was it, last week?
Alabama.
What was it, 30, right?
Yeah.
So they got the message. Although they let Bama back in, that was the second half. Bama maybe cut it to single digits or close to 10 anyway.
Yeah, they got it to 9, and then LSU extended it again.
Yeah, so that would be, something every coach is trying to do. I mean, we could bottle that. We could figure out how to bottle that. We'd be billionaires. But, LSU's got the pieces, and they've got the attitude. Guys like Emmett Williams, you win championships with guys like that.
You know what else would make us billionaires, Pat?
What's that?
Developing cars that park themselves.
That's right. Somebody beat us to it. Dang it.
He is a parallel parking champion of the world, Pat Bradley. Always good enough to spend a couple of minutes, man. I appreciate your time, Pat. Thanks for having some fun, man. You're the best.
All right, Matt. Thanks, bro.